Thank you, Madhu. Um, Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm a little small. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to be here and to speak at Dr. Maya Rao's conference for Kathak and Choreography. Um, uh, the NIKC, the Natya Institute of Kathak and Choreography, is the space which has really been my first home. Um, and I think both Madhu Dr. Maya Rao have really been primary witnesses in my journey into dance and into healing and dance therapy. So I'm so grateful to be here, to come back here, and and speak at this conference. Um, I come from a family not of artists. You know, my mother is an educator, and my father was a chartered accountant. And I have cousins and who are doctors and engineers, and um, for me to be at NIKC when I was 17 and 18 uh, really gave me permission to follow my passion, to which, Madhu, I'll just always be grateful. So I'm so happy to be here. And, um, and it was also a space where I really saw that passion can be a career. It didn't have to be separate. So it became the space where I started integrating different sides of myself. And I also, in dancing, and I was start training to be a chartered accountant when I met Madhu, and I hated it. I would have been depressed if I wasn't also dancing. And the contrast between chartered accountancy and the work we were doing at STEM was just so wide and so profound. And dance gave me such a sense of well-being that it held me through a very difficult time. And slowly, of course, I left accountancy to be a dancer full time. But I was very, very curious about the sense of well being that permeated my life beyond performance. Performance definitely gave me a high, but there was a sense of well being and happiness and joy really that permeated much beyond performance. And I was curious about that. I started working with people with special needs to see how I could share that joy. And slowly that led me into dance therapy. And I'm here today as a somatic therapist, as an expressive art therapist, to talk about trauma, to talk about the role of the wounded healer that helps us navigate this particular time in our history, which I believe is so important, so potent, and really a time of collective chaos. But before we do that, I just want to ground myself and I kind of invite you to join me. So, just taking a few moments to just honor your body. Yeah. So, just checking in, allowing yourself to get comfortable, allowing the seat of the chair to hold your weight, yeah, to support you underneath as I feel my feet on the ground. Yeah. And just allowing your eyes to kind of wander in the space to see all these beautiful faces. Just noticing what gives you pleasure, what sparks joy. Yeah, just kind of noticing that. And just taking a minute now to how do you experience this in your body? I'm sorry, how do you experience this in your body? Yeah. Now, slowly bringing awareness to your breath. And just place one hand on that part of the body where you feel your breath moving and where it moves you the most. So it could be your chest, it could be your belly. Yeah. Where do you really feel moved by your breath? And maybe another part, the other hand, on where you would like to bring your breath. Yeah. So you have two places. Yeah. I'm sorry. One hand on the part of the body that you feel your breath, and then another hand where you would like to bring your breath. And just noticing this for a moment. Close your eyes as you have these two hands on yourself, and just say hello to yourself. And as you greet yourself, allow yourself to be a little curious, just noticing, is there a question or an intention that comes to you as you sit here? Yeah? And as you connect, just notice how your bones feel. Yeah? And your breath. So, two very different sensations. The bones give you structure, give you a sense of being grounded, and your breath really allowing for flow and fluidity in your body. Gently opening your eyes, and now allowing your eyes to come back to what was pleasant. Yeah? If you need to stretch, a gentle stretch. If you need to sound, ah, just allowing sound. Yeah. And thank you for kind of arriving with me to be here. Yeah. When asked me to speak for at a conference called Dancing the Waves, I thought it was a beautiful name for something that has really created so much chaos for people all over the globe. You know, and I was just sitting with the name, and I felt, yeah, we're really right now witnessing a time which seems almost chaotic, traumatic, like just kind of it. You can feel the shaking, right? Because it's not just the pandemic. There is a pandemic which we don't know is going to ever end, but it's more than that. We can also feel the climate crisis, the political unrest, racial injustice, caste based injustice, and really the acute polarity that we're currently inhabiting. Yeah, we're either for or against, and we're almost forced to take these places at a great cost to who we are. And when this is happening, and for me, this last year, when I'm with my clients and even with myself, it just seems like there's this constant swinging from one to the other. What is right? Who is real? What is the truth? And in the process, it seems like we kind of lose a little bit of our connection to ourselves and the essence of who we are that doesn't change irrespective of the trauma in the collective. And I'm so grateful with Sudita's beautiful practice that really brings us back into the body. Yeah, because when the outer world is confusing, it's really the inner world that we have to turn to. And it has been my work in the last 2 years almost to constantly work both with my clients and with myself to try and find purpose in our individual lives that's beyond what's happening in the global environment. As artists, and many artists, work has almost come to a standstill. Yeah, and some of us are mildly inconvenienced. Yeah, we have to sit at home, wash our hands, wear our mask, and some of us are really fighting for our lives. Yeah, and what this pandemic has done for all of us is really bring all these flaws out into the open, and it feels devastating, and it feels like we're going to, we could collapse. But what we often miss is the opportunity that's available, like really an opportunity for renewal. And that has been the work for us, because either we get caught in the collapse or we can really tune into this thread of possibility and the possibility of renewal. Yeah, what does it mean to to come alive. Yeah. And where is this sense of resilience? Where is our life force? Because we're witnessing destruction, and really our life force is in the creation. So it is in the work that as artists that we've been doing through the years that brings us back to life. And these the last 2 years, I've really noticed there have been three kinds of people. Yeah, there's one who, at any cost, it's all about me. So when the pressure is a lot, we kind of double down and become even more selfish. How do I take care of myself? That's it. Then there's a second kind who kind of understands we're interconnected, understands that we have to work together, otherwise we're not going to be able to handle this crisis. Yet when the pressure is strong, we also become like the first person, and it becomes all about us. And I think we witnessed this so much during the second wave, where there wasn't really much choice. We had to fight for oxygen. We had, and it was, do I get it or do I give it to somebody else? And there didn't seem to be much else, much other options. And then there's a third kind of person, the one that's really inspired me on my journey. It is the person who has already met their trauma, who's already descended into darkness and come up. So they have found a sense of vision that doesn't get stressed by what's happening in the collective. They have a sense of, because they've already descended, they face the hopelessness, and they've come up. So they are accessing something that renews them. And in my interaction with these people, they renew me, they give me hope. And I notice it in the communities that they work with. And this is what Jung calls as the wounded healer. Yeah, so it's a term. The wounded healer is a term coined by Carl Jung, and it comes from Greek mythology. But what he really means is that the disease of the soul is the best form of training for a therapist or a healer. So someone who actually has had trauma, has had chaos, and has worked through that, that person is best able to facilitate that journey for someone else, to accompany someone else on that journey, and to constantly be in touch with that thread of renewal. So that has been especially inspiring for me. And I feel, as we look around, I feel like there are movements that have come before the pandemic, during the pandemic, whether it's the Me Too movement or the Black Lives Matters, or the various protests that we're seeing all over the world, including in India, which really talks about there has to be something deeper that I'm in touch with, that I can give, that will bring a community or a collective together. Yeah, and that is best done by someone who has witnessed or descended into their own trauma, and come and brought up what gifts they have, because our gifts are always very close to our wounding. And the reason we don't access our gifts is because it means having to go to that place where the wounding is deep. So, and some people have done it, and people are constant, and especially in this last 2 years, that has been the invitation to most of us to work through our wounding, and through that, to find what gifts we have to offer the collective. One of the ways that we do this, uh, or at least when I talk about trauma, trauma can be any event. It may be different for different people, but can be any event that, because it's so painful, causes the person to disassociate from their body, from their emotions, in order to be able to function at that point. So there's a level of disassociation, so we don't have to feel the pain. And probably when we are young, the pain is too overwhelming. Yeah, so there's a level of disassociation that happens. Healing that trauma is coming back together, is to bring that back into integration. And the way we do that is through conscious embodiment, to really to really be in embodiment, to be And therefore, as dancers, I feel in some way, in many ways, that we're already doing that. And for me, during the stress of doing my CA, what I really, and I'm hating it and just feeling lost and not knowing what I wanted to do, it was really the dancing and inhabiting my body and consciously and embodying my body, and the joy that it gave me, that kept me together. Yeah. So as dancers, we are doing it already. And for me, what is so beautiful in this is that it's not it to embody is there's nothing more. It just requires us to be in our body, to be open and receptive to sensation, to emotion, to images that arise from the body. Yeah. And conscious embodiment is really a vital awareness of bodily experience. This leads to a capacity for emotional regulation, self reflection, curiosity, relaxation, response, and even relationship. So it's really a sense of being present with yourself and others. And what I find interesting with the pandemic, the invitation was to stay at home, right? Don't come out, lockdown, stay at home. And for those of us, clearly, those of us who are privileged and could do that, I think there's a deeper invitation is to stay within in your first home. So beyond the structure, the building that you live in, really the home that is your body. Yeah, to really learning to inhabit that. And that allows us to feel the interconnectedness with others. So even though we're not seeing people, we feel the connection. We are aware of, and I know how dramatic it was when we watched migrants walking home as we were sitting in the safety of our homes. We have that sense of interconnection because in keeping our world small, we're really staying in our body. Yeah, we have a sense of belonging to the planet, a sense of belonging to something larger. And I think this is something that I saw many times with my clients. One was what's going on for me, my personal story, but how do I hold the suffering that I'm witnessing in the collective? And it really was by coming home to the body. Yeah, because when we are not in our bodies become an object. Yeah, so we objectify our body. So it's how fast can it move, how little can it eat, so it's when the bodies become an object, and when we objectify our body and our body is an object, we don't realize that we don't have bodies, but we are bodies. And the great danger in objectifying and kind of having a relationship with the body which is an object is we start treating other bodies as objects. Other bodies become objects, and that is the space where anything can happen. We look at violence, we look at injustice, and we wonder, how do people do that? And it really is a very disembodied reaction. So you are not so coming back to our body is really coming back to empathy, coming back to relationship, and coming back to response. On that note, I wanted to just do a little bit of an embodiment for all of us, just a simple one. And it would be, you can continue to sit, but if you can have our feet very firmly grounded on the floor. Yeah, really firmly grounded on the floor. Keeping your eyes closed, I want you to just visualize. First, bring your awareness and your breath to your feet. Yeah, allowing your feet to meet the earth with a real relationship. Yeah, so the earth is not no longer something that we're walking on, but there's a real relationship between our feet and the earth. And now, using your imagination, just grow roots from your feet into Mother Earth. Yeah, really allow these roots to go deep and wide. Yeah, down to the big mother. Yeah, just allowing yourself to sink. And as you do this, just notice if you can Witness what happens to your spine. You might find your spine actually extending to the sky. And allow your spine to extend to the sky like your head is in the clouds. Yeah, so your neck is really free and your feet are on the earth, deep. Yeah, giving into gravity, which is really our oldest friend. Yeah, just allowing gravity to do its job, releasing your weight into the earth. And just notice what are the sensations in your body. Maybe there's a flutter in your belly, an openness in your chest. Just notice what are the sensations in your body. And if anybody would like to call out a sensation, it'd be great for me to know what sensations are here in the room. Any sensation, a tingling in your spine, weightless, lovely. A real sensation, a sensation of being weightless, yeah? So being supported by Mother Earth. Expanded, expansiveness. And now I'm going to invite you to just see what could be an emotion that you feel as you feel into these sensations of being weightless and expansive. What is an emotion that may be coming up for you? Or if it's a different sensation, just notice what is an emotion that comes up for you. Anybody? Harmony. I feel aligned. And how does that feel aligned? Is it joyful? Is it peaceful? Just noticing emotion. Joy? Sure. And now just kind of noticing if there's an image. Yeah? Maybe the image of the tree that Subhita visualized with us. What is an image that comes when you have a sensation of being grounded, a feeling of feeling expansiveness, harmony, joy? Just notice what is a image that comes up. And finally, if there are thoughts. Yeah, and just noticing that our physical body actually holds all these different parts. And often we're very much in touch with what we think and what we know and what we want to say. But there are all these delicious messages that the rest of the body is bringing to us. And the invitation is to consciously embody that. Yeah. And now I'm going to ask you to continue with your eyes closed, feet grounded, head in the clouds, neck free, to really see yourself as that bridge between the earth and the sky. Yeah. Right now, you are on that one particular point on Mother Earth that nobody else is. Yeah. So really see yourself on that specific point and as a bridge between the earth and the sky, between matter and spirit, between mother and father. Yeah, Mother Earth and Father Sky. And as you hold that bridge between these two, I just want to say a few lines. Yeah, and it's from the poet Hafiz, a Persian poet. And he says, "We have not come here to take prisoners, but to surrender ever more deeply to freedom and joy. For we have not come here to take prisoners or to confine our wondrous spirits, but to experience ever and ever more deeply our divine courage, freedom, and light." And I'm just going to close with those words. Thank you so much, Madhu, for having me.